Good evening, everyone. We are going to reconvene into open session.
I recommend that minutes of tonight's executive session as they relate to collective bargaining and the privacy of students and their records remain sealed.
Do I have a second?
And then Diane. Hold on, where's Angela? One second. Because she's got to take the notes.
Give us a moment. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Disclosure of executive session votes. Laura?
There were 3 votes that were taken in executive session. They were for the purposes of reviewing and or approving matters which relate to the privacy of students and their records, the approval of the executive session minutes of January 14th, 2025, and the approval to reconvene to open session. The votes were taken and it was unanimous for all 3 votes.
Thank you, Laura. So we have recognitions next on the agenda, and we're going to do recognitions a little bit differently tonight and moving forward. Typically, the superintendent is very gracious in reading aloud all of the recognitions, but considering this is a school committee meeting, I thought it would be a good idea to have individual school committee members acknowledge those recognitions moving forward. So in recognitions 6A, for Charahoe Regional High School, Laura.
Good evening, everybody. Charahoe Regional High School. We proudly announce Carter Stoltz, Adeline Leboisier, and Penelope Nicholas as school-level Poetry Out Loud contest winners. On Friday, January 17th, 2025, 10 students competed in the competition, presenting works selected from an anthology of over 1,100 poems. Judges evaluated their performances on voice, articulation, evidence of understanding, and accuracy. The first place winner was Carter Stoltz. He will represent Charahoe at the Rhode Island State Poetry Out Loud contest at the Providence Public Library on Saturday, March 8th, 2025. Congratulations, Carter. The second item for Charahoe High School, congratulations on earning the College Board's AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award for expanding young women's access to AP Computer Science principles. Through these diversity awards, the AP program acknowledges 1,153 schools for their work towards improving female representation during the 2023-2024 school year. Charahoe High School is one of only 847 schools to achieve this accomplishment for the AP CSP.
It's official. Hope is now a certified therapy dog. If she'd like to take a bow. She has successfully passed her certification, which is an incredible achievement and a testament to her gentle nature and loving personality. Thank you to everyone who helped her prepare for this important milestone. As a certified therapy dog, Hope will continue to bring joy, comfort, and support to our school community through the warmth of her companionship, her wagging tail that always helps make a tough day easier, and her calm presence during reading sessions. Hope makes a difference in the lives of students and staff. We are so proud of her. Okay, and the next one is spreading kindness and confidence at Charahoe Middle School Confidence. Congratulations to Layla and Lindsay. I don't know if they're here tonight, but they are two amazing students at Charahoe Middle School who were on the front page of the Westerly Sun on January 26th. So if anybody missed it, you might want to go back and check it out. For their efforts in creating kindness campaigns, small, colorful rocks, each painted with a message, are part of the students' mission to promote kindness and general well-being all over the school campus. Program coordinator and teacher Olivia McCullough stated, "It's so good to see the kids come up with these ideas all by themselves," she added. "They did all the work. They are the experts."
Thank you, Pat. Polly.
Congratulations to Charahoe Regional School District for earning a Healthy Meals Incentive Recognition Award from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Food and Nutrition Service, and Action for Healthy Kids. This is an incredible achievement in elevating school nutrition in our school food authority. As an awardee, Charahoe will receive the following: national and local recognition by USDA and AFHK, an all-expense-paid invitation to the Healthy Meals Fall 2025 Summit in Las Vegas, Nevada, Healthy Meals Incentives Recognition Awardee Toolkit with promotional resources that will help us publicize our success to local media and our school community, a banner to showcase our accomplishments. And in Charahoe sports, girls basketball, from the Westerly Sun, February 4th, 2025, CHS student Erin O'Leary broke a 38-38 deadlock in overtime, making a three-pointer with 2 minutes remaining, and Maddie Fasano shot 3 of 4 at the foul line in the final 21 seconds. The final two with 3.4 seconds left to seal things for Charahoe, and a 44-41 interdivision victory on Monday night over East Greenwich. It was great to get a win, Charahoe coach Dan LaBelle said. All these girls have worked so hard this season, and for them to get a tough road win like this tonight, I couldn't be more proud of them. Good job, coach.
Linda.
Hello. Good evening. Hi, I'm Linda Lyle. I have an honor to congratulate our very own Heidi Fee at Charlestown Elementary School, who has been named a National Science Foundation awardee for the Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching, which is PAMIST, I guess it's called. PAMIST recognizes outstanding teachers for their contributions to the teaching and learning of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Heidi, is she here?
No, Heidi's sick.
Oh. Well, Heidi will receive a $10,000 award from NSF and travel to Washington, D.C. to participate in an awards ceremony at a future date. We have prepared a certificate of award for Heidi to offer our congratulations on this outstanding achievement. Congratulations, Heidi.
Thank you, school committee members. So public forum is number 7 on our agenda. So there are a number of folks who have signed up for public forum. Thank you so much. I just wanted to reiterate our public forum policy. Each citizen who would like to make a public statement has a responsibility to be accurate, present facts, not gossip or rumors, present information based upon personal knowledge, not hearsay, be considerate, and allow others to speak without interruption. So additionally, any persons wishing to speak during public forum for items not on the agenda will sign in and be recognized. The chair has the discretion to limit each person to 2 to 4 minutes. If additional time is sought by the speaker, it may be granted by a majority vote of the school committee. And we do have 7 people signed up tonight for public forum. If you would like to, when your name is called, please come up to the podium, speak clearly into the microphone, and if you could state your name and the town in which you reside, we would appreciate that. So first is Dylan Stracuzzi. Is Dylan here? Okay, go ahead. Well, welcome, Dylan and Jocelyn. Do you need help with the microphone? Oh, thank you. Terrific. We might have to give you a little bit more than 2 minutes if you go over your time.
Good evening. I'm Jocelyn Vanderveer.
And I'm Dylan Stracuzzi. We are in 4th grade at Hope Valley Elementary School.
As you know, our school has been without a librarian and we no longer have High C.
Here are a few examples of things we used to do.
During library, we would code. Mrs. Ward would read something to us, then would have us answer questions about it.
We would research various topics. However, now we color and sometimes code. Wait, we can just get or not, okay.
This is what we just did yesterday.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Do you want to pass that around so we can all see it? Go ahead. Thank you. You can continue while we review your work.
We just really miss the highly capable program and a normal library class.
We would like to know when we'll have a new librarian or High C again. Thank you for your time.
Nice job.
Thank you.
We actually have 2 openings in a library media. It's a high need area. We've had small applicants. We are actually looking at redesigning the job description similar to what EWG did to be able to widen our net. But yeah, it's a hard job to fill and not many people going into that field anymore. So we're looking at some opportunities. The good news about High C is that with our MTSS work, which is multi-tiered systems of support, it supports all of our students from those that have needs or those that need enrichment. So we'll be incorporating that in our work as well.
Thank you. And thank you to the Hope Valley, Dylan and Lindsay. Thank you so much. So next it's Jocelyn.
Oh, yeah, they already did. Oh, so they went together.
Oh, yes, Jocelyn and Dylan were together. Sorry. David Lely from Richmond.
Hi, I'm David Lally from Richmond, Rhode Island. I wanted to present a petition that I took the initiative to make last year and circulate. It's a petition for full transparency in Charahoe schools. And it goes like this. Whereas in a free society, every citizen, if they choose, has a voice to determine the culture and promote the well-being of that society. Whereas the education of children in a free society is critical to the life and health of that society, and whereas the citizens of Charleston, Richmond, Hopkinton are in fact members of a free society and support the education of the children in the Charahoe School District, we, the undersigned citizens of Charleston, Richmond, Hopkinton, Rhode Island, demand full and open transparency of all books, lesson plans, and other educational materials that are used in the Charahoe School District. As responsible citizens, we want to be able to oversee and participate in how the children learn about truth and ensure that they are taught the necessary skills to be confident, contributing members of a flourishing society. We believe that the public participation in the educational process of the children of Charahoe is the best way for them to grow in wisdom and understanding, and is the best course to ensure well-being of our community, our state, and a country as a whole. And I went around my neighborhood to gather signatures, and I had help in other areas of the Charahoe School District. So we have a petition has actually garnered 413 signatures last year. And I can tell you that in my experience, going around my neighborhood, most people are very willing to sign the petition. They agree with it very wholeheartedly for the most part. And when you think about it, there's so much resource out there in the public, various trades and skills and crafts and people that can, with life experience, that can help the educational process in our schools. And it's such a resource that we can dip into to have that for all of our parents, teachers, and students alike. So I'd like to present this petition and the signatures that are contained herein to this school committee.
You can hand it to Ms. Brazil, the district clerk.
Thank you, David. Clay Johnson from Richmond.
Hello. I spoke last month at the Omnibus about a vulnerable section of the public when it comes to tax increases on property. And one of the things I sort of dismissively said was that the family making $120,000 a year, it's not a big deal to have a $200 hit in property taxes. And then I saw a report by Visual Capitalist that says the livable income for a family of 4 in Rhode Island is $123,000. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought I'd dig into that a little bit more. So I want to do the same thing I did last time, but with a family of 4. Yearly income, $120,000. Income taxes, $10,000. Take-home monthly is $9,200. Housing for a $500,000 house, $100,000 down 30 years is $3,000 a month. Property taxes, $458. House insurance, $1,500. Food, $1,000. Childcare, $2,000. Transportation, $1,000. Healthcare, $500. Other expenses, utilities, phone, internet, clothing, entertainment, personal care, $700. So that totals up to about $10,000 a month. So they're actually losing almost $1,000 a month, a loss of $221 a week. And this is why we're seeing reports with credit card bills that are starting to slowly grow over time. So I understand that any adjustments down are very painful for you guys, and it affects programs that go on here at Cherahoe. My intent is to try to bring balance to this conversation because adjustments up also create pain. And the big picture that I think needs to be kept in mind is we're down over 25% in enrollment from peak enrollment in Cherahoe. So please consider that as you're going through the budget today. Thank you.
Thank you. Joan Kent from Richmond. So Joan, did you want to speak to something on the agenda or just general remarks?
It's about the budget for school.
Okay. So I think if you have a comment about the budget, we do have an agenda item about the budget.
I
So
want to make a comment about what is going on in another community and what they're up against. So
Okay.
that you're aware of what's happening in other communities.
okay. Thank you.
Can I do that now? Oh, is that better? That's because I'm so short. You know that feeling? In Warwick, they're over on their school budget with 2 schools. They allotted and approved $350 million. It came in at 387.8. They were able to cut 14.9 million, but they are over 22.9 million. They are also in a deficit of 9 million, maybe 10 million or over in their towns starting in 2025. So they're at a very, very bad disadvantage. I do not want to see this community or this school or any of the taxpayers going through this type of thing. When you decide to look at the budgets, look at it fairly, concisely, and know that the purse that you open isn't endless. It's on the backs and the pockets of taxpayers. We love our children, we love our grandchildren, and we do the best we can for them. All I ask is that you consider all the facts. And I thank you for listening, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Greg Avedisian from Hopkinton. Thank you, sir. Catherine Giusti from Hopkinton. Hi, Catherine.
Everybody. I just wanted to speak a minute about the tone of the committee. I think that it is important that everybody tries to be as respectful as possible when you're having these discussions. But I do want to implore that when you hear someone's tone and it seems difficult to you or challenging to you, that you listen to the message behind the tone. And I think that you need to recognize that when someone is trying to get a point across and they are consistently ignored, that can be when the tone can start to be a little bit more harsh. So I just ask that you all remember that. Try to work with one another respectfully in this entire process. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, we're going to go on to the agenda item 8 under business. So 8A is a resolution in support of amending Rhode Island General Law 16-21 1-15 to require non-public, nonprofit schools to share in the cost of the statewide transportation system. Gina, did you want to give us a little bit of background on this? I know that we have materials in our packets, but if you can give us some background on this and sort of the genesis of this, please.
I'm recommending approval of this resolution. It was started in Lincoln School Committee with Mario Carreño, and those that you may remember is also the Chief Executive Officer, Fiscal Building Authority. This is asking that we share in the cost. Right now, the district takes on the entire cost, and it would alleviate approximately our cost is $800,000. That's 8 of our educators, or it's programs to students, or it's, being able to reduce the budget. But it's a heavy lift, and with everything rising and all costs rising, we believed it's a good measure to be able to agree that we share in those costs. So I recommend approval of the resolution.
So moved.
Do we have a motion? Linda? Second by Karen. Discussion, please. Diane and then Pat.
Hi, yes. So I understand this correctly, that this is to cover the transportation of homeless children?
No.
So
This is non-public, this is for private schools, they're tuition-based, nonprofit.
Okay, shifting the
require
private school subsidy to cover homeless students and requiring private schools to share the cost of the statewide transportation system.
So the homeless cost is actually $24,000, yeah?
So they want us to provide that. They want us to share in the cost to provide for
No,
the.
we already do that.
All right, okay.
This is asking that they modify the law, that the private schools share in the cost of transporting to the private schools.
Okay.
Pat.
Could you give us some background as to why it was that you want to change this so that private schools pay, but what was
Share the cost.
Yeah, so what was the premise when it was originally established, why we didn't do that?
Unlike Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island gave the ability and the law to allow that. I was at the commission yesterday with Jess Purcell regarding another transportation conversation around regions. But a lot of this, unfortunately, was self-serving. Many representatives in the General Assembly had, students, their own children who attended private schools and wanted that cost to go to them. We've made different conversations. This is one of those unfunded mandates that, it's nice to have when maybe the state could afford it, but now, you don't go to the fire department and say, my house has never caught on fire, I would not like to pay that cost. I don't go to the senior center, I don't want to pay that cost. I have never had to use the police, I don't want to pay that cost. But we seem to do that a lot in the education side of the world. So what we're saying is, while costs are increasing, we're asking that instead of the burden being completely on the district, where everything is going up, we're asking that overall that the state say that private schools have to share in that cost.
Donna, Craig, Jess.
Just a little background. My husband and I supported parochial schools for our children in probably one of the best school districts in the entire country, which was Fairfax County. And we provided the tuition, the books, the transportation, everything. When we moved back to Rhode Island on retirement, I was appalled that the public budget the school districts have to support that kind of expense. I think it's terrible. If the choice is made to go to a private school, parochial school, whatever, that to me is the burden of the parents that make that choice. My daughter educated her 3 children in parochial education, and I will tell you, the transportation was available from her district, and they never used it. So again, that's just a waste of taxpayers' money in the school districts that need every penny we can get. And I would support eliminating that at the legislative, for the legislature to begin with, because I don't think taxpayers in Rhode Island should be paying the cost for private education. Thank you.
Craig?
I wholeheartedly agree with everything that's said, but do you think, Gina, could you give us some examples so everybody knows what non-public, non-profit schools are and what aren't?
So charter schools are not in this category. They're public schools. This would be your private schools, like your LaSalle's, your Bishop Hendrickens, your Monsignor Clark's, your Prouts.
And charter schools, but yet I see some charter schools with their own buses.
Well, and districts do that too. Westerly has their own buses, and Narragansett has their own buses. Cranston has their own buses.
Okay. No, I meant just charter schools though. So.
Right, charter schools are public, so that's something different.
So they get.
This would be the private schools.
Thank you.
Jess?
So Diane touched on this, which is that in this resolution, it is a shift of the subsidies. So currently, the state subsidizes our non-public transportation. So it costs us $800,000. The state then provides what we paid the previous year, which in this case, this year is like $500,000. So it's a pretty substantial reimbursement that we get. And so what this resolution is saying is you shift that subsidy. So instead of getting it for non-public transportation, ask those parents or those families, you know, that those school systems, the non-public school systems, to share the cost of transportation with you. It's required by law. And shift that subsidy to the homeless, the transportation of students who are experiencing homelessness or unhoused, which in some districts makes a lot of sense because that cost is a lot more for them or can be more. For us, it doesn't make fiscal sense for Charahoe for us to shift the subsidy. I support the addition of 6 to get a state reimbursement for that transportation that we do, but I don't support this resolution. I can support the spirit of it. I can support the spirit of studying the statewide transportation system, which is how we have to provide this service. And that was something that I brought up at the meeting I attended last night, which is that there's a bill that was introduced last year, again this year, that would help Charahoe and districts like ours that have a transportation company a quarter of a mile down the road to provide that service in-house rather than use the statewide transportation system. So I don't support this resolution as it's written currently. We want to make if anyone would support a change to it, I would support that. But I think overall, I don't think it's right for us. I think it would foster bad feelings. You know, I know folks that send their kids on those buses, and it's part of the law.
And the committee can make any requests or changes. To Jess's point, from July through January, July through December, we spent about $24,000 with our McKinney-Vento students. But yeah, that money would then shift to support those families.
Karen?
So just quickly, and I think this is more to Jess, so I apologize. So this is based on the statewide transportation. They don't use local busing.
Right.
So
and you get penalized. So I think what Jess is saying, so what happens, the resolution, the law issue you're talking about is the one where, and I agree with you, what happens is we have attempted, and I think I've mentioned this to the committee before, to meet with RIDE and statewide to be able to fund it ourselves at a much cheaper rate, but then you don't get the reimbursements, and then we get penalized for that. EWG pulled out completely and lost all their state aid, which was a huge hit for them. So Rep. Carter is supporting and I think championing that bill, which I do agree with Ms. Purcell, is something that the committee should also be looking at. The transportation in general is one of our largest areas of need. Overall, that's where I would begin our focus.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
The transportation needs.
Yeah.
That's one of our largest, especially because of the 128 square miles. So the resolutions and the work happening right now in the transportation world does help us alleviate a lot of the costs that continue to rise every year.
Thank you.
Laura?
So I'm Jess, I think you could just clarify for me that you mean that this resolution is that it's essentially Charahoe wouldn't benefit too much from it? Is that kind of what you're?
No, I don't think they would.
Okay. Thanks.
So in the spirit of transparency, I have a child that goes to a private school. I pay substantial property taxes in Richmond. It would be a hardship for my family personally if that transportation was taken away. I think it would be a hardship for lots of other parents who send their kids to private school. I support public education. I think the transportation as a whole needs to be taken a look at, which Charahoe can't solve overnight. It's a statewide issue, so I will not be supporting this resolution.
The other option is to think about the transportation ones that you want to, and then just pull it completely and then start with an example from either Ms. Purcell or yourself that have examples of how they want the resolution to read. I'm happy to do that as well. The bigger picture is, and we're not, because that was some of the clarification, it's not to remove private school transportation. So no one's asking anyone to remove it. It's to share in the cost and not get penalized if you do find a cheaper way to do it. But we can look at rewording it. That's another option as well.
Polly?
What's the other side? What does the private schools think about this kind of resolution? What's being discussed at the table?
It just started, so I would look at the video yesterday because those commissions are public and available for everyone to view. I don't want to speak out of turn, but obviously they would like it to remain the same.
Jess?
I was going to say, so it is about, in the resolution, it does strike out the line that says the state subsidy. So it's about replacing the state subsidy with a cost-sharing agreement yet to be determined in the future. So I just wanted to clarify that point. And I agree, the video is on Capitol TV. If you just search, it's kind of a unwieldy first page, but if you search Capitol TV for study transmission, you can study whatever, the student transportation, so many words, commission.
I can send you
can
the,
find
it actually was in my
Yeah.
updates. If you click on the link, you'll get right to the page.
Because they've had representatives from RIPTA, they've had representatives from the Catholic schools, superintendents of Bristol Warren was there last night, because part of the issue was the regions were established in 50 years ago. So Bristol Warren is the East Bay. They send kids a lot farther and more ranging of a distance than maybe we do here, or so there's a lot being considered. It's not just about non-public transportation, it's about the statewide system in general. So it's very informative work.
So is there anyone that is interested in making any adjustments or revisions to this resolution?
So at the end of the meeting, I was going to make an agenda item request to support that bill I mentioned. It's 5204, I believe. I have it written down. But could I make a motion now that we table this and make our own resolution regarding
Was
transportation?
there a motion
or-
on the floor?
There is a motion on the
So
floor.
if somebody, if you withdrew, whoever.
I think I seconded it, so I have to.
I did first.
All right, so I withdraw my second.
I was withdrawn first.
Okay, so no.
Okay. So we have the motion that has been withdrawn and the second was withdrawn. So Jess, did you want to make an alternate motion?
I
I don't know if it's an alternate motion or if it's a separate agenda item.
I think what you could say is based on the resolution around transportation that you're looking, I don't think you need the motion.
Okay.
I think you just, like you said, the future agenda items, we can think more holistically and then revise it to make sure it meets the needs of the committee.
Okay.
Could I add
Holly?
something to that? Could you run it through legal counsel? Because my concern is I'm reading this and I'm thinking, we have taxpayers paying the full amount of tax and property tax, and it's coming to the school, and they're sending their kids over and above to private school. There may be some legal recourse coming from those private schools saying, hey, well, you're getting the tax dollars, we're not getting those. Maybe we should run that by legal and see what concerns we might have with a resolution like this, getting behind it.
Well, the resolution follows the law, so there's a law in place.
Yeah.
So I would just recommend a few, the lawyer's gonna say to follow the law. But I do think if there's something specific, just during future agenda item. No, but I do, yeah.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to discuss this at the end of the meeting for future agenda items. So is that your intention, Jess?
No, I think,
You have a future agenda
yeah.
item and we're
I have a
tabling
future
that.
agenda item. Would I table this or vote on this?
I would prefer that maybe we table it and then come back with a resolution that meets the committee's needs.
So do we have a motion to table this agenda item?
Thank you.
Pat, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Diane. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Item B, under business, fiscal year 26 budget approval. So just so I can clarify, the superintendent has put forward, and her team has put forward, a suggested budget for fiscal year 26. We've had some discussions on this. We had a budget workshop. This is something that if we vote to approve this, we are approving the budget as is. So we're accepting the superintendent's budget, but we have an opportunity to revise, amend, discuss it again during the next budget workshop on February 25th. We will also have the district-wide meeting coming up on March 4th, where we will listen to the residents and the taxpayers about, again, their feedback on the budget. And then we also have an opportunity to make other adjustments and, more discussions at the March 11th school committee meeting. So if we, vote to approve this budget, we vote to own it and to revise it accordingly moving forward. Is that clear with everyone around the table? Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 26 budget?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Diane, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Jess seconded. Any discussion on this? Larry?
I would approve this budget, but
Larry, just talk right into your
sorry.
microphone, please.
I would approve the budget, but I'd like to send it back to Gina and see if she can come up with $1 million in cuts.
No, that's our job.
So I actually we have some tonight based on the request you wrote. You gave me that request last time.
Yep.
So actually, if Kathy, you don't mind, she can put it up.
Wait,
So,
wait, let's take our let's do our vote first.
sorry.
Right?
Oh,
We have a discussion.
we're
gonna
discussing.
discuss first?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, let's discuss, yes.
Okay, so then I'm gonna
let's
just flip this
discuss.
down the road.
Larry, were you finished?
Well,
Okay, she's gonna put something up on the screen.
So at the last meeting, just like Mr. Phelps said, I was asked to bring the requested from the school committee because like Ms. Lyle said, those have to come from you. So Mr. Phelps asked me to show if Hope Valley closes, what those cuts would look like. So those were up here. Ms. Chapman asked about the world language teacher, which is I've placed here as well. Ms. Purcell had requested the amount of bringing the fund balance to 2%. And then there were two items that we added as the district, which is in the third category under the NEASC, which is the high school accreditation, has been postponed. So that's a $4,700 savings that we can do because we're postponing it. And then the other thing that came up with Ms. Davis's review, and she asked, and I had no problem bringing it up to make sure pure transparency, was that the district currently covers the BCI check for all volunteers for our field trips, for our mentors, for the work in the district. Costs us about $5,000 a year. That's something that, again, similar to what Ms. Hopkins said about shifting, responsibilities. Right now, the district does it. If you shifted it, it goes back to families or those that are volunteering. And that, again, is up to the committee. With the cuts that Mr. Phelps, Ms. Chapman, Ms. Purcell have asked, then that brings you to $1,045,159.
So I have some questions, but I'll let Jess go first.
I just want to be clear, so that's like a level funded budget, the one,
It's about
It's a 1,166.
$25,000 off from being level funded.
okay.
But these were the requests I was asked to bring based on the last meeting. I didn't know, does anyone, there were two outstanding questions from the last meeting, one from Mr. Phelps about the first page overview and the amounts. And then I believe there was one, if you want to start there.
Yes, so if you notice, you were each given her the one pager again for section 2. What Mr. Phelps pointed out is due to when you run numbers in Excel and you're working with $60 to $70 million, we tend to cut off at 2 decimal places because that's how money works. But Excel runs to 8 decimal places. And that $6,000 difference was actually, when you run it to 8 decimal places, you wind up with, that's where that money was. So we reran page 2 to 8 decimal places and then assigned that $6,000 to the 3 towns accordingly. In past years, the district absorbed that course in their during the year. This has been common practice over the years. I guess no one has ever pointed it out.
Thank you. Thanks, Larry. So I have some questions for Gina and for Mr. Zenyan. So, and thank you so much for putting this spreadsheet together. Can everybody see that okay from the public? No? How can we make that clearer? So can we turn the lights down?
Yeah, from the.
Just a second here.
The ones over here.
There is another copy here if anybody wants it. While we're doing that.
Yep.
Can I just,
Sure.
when we vote on a budget on that item, we're voting on the adjustments, correct? The adjusted budget.
Not yet.
We gotta make a motion
No.
on it
Okay.
to
No.
do that.
Not that, no,
No,
there's
we're
already a
not-
motion on the table to just,
Right.
to approve the
Just
budget.
to approve it.
FY '26.
Right,
Just need a motion to make cuts.
yes.
Right, but you
right
already had a
now-
motion on the table, so you guys
Right.
did.
Right, so right now, we're just discussing a whole host of things related to the fiscal year '26 budget. So is that better for everybody in the audience, that can they see that better? Yes? Okay. So my questions are, and I appreciate your taking the time to put this spreadsheet together, because that's very helpful. I just want to be clear that last meeting, Larry had asked about level funding the budget, and you had indicated that to get closer to a level funded budget, we have to have a serious conversation about Hope Valley Elementary School. And you went through line item by line item, a number of savings if Hope Valley were to potentially close at the end of this school year. And my question is, in these columns, and what you articulated verbally is also represented on this sheet. So one of the things were, when we look at staff, so it says here, cut grade 1, so that would be 2 educators. So does that mean that those educators are placed somewhere else in the district? Or does that mean that those educators are completely eliminated from our budget? So what's the real cost savings?
That is the
for-
real cost savings because we have retirements, we always do. And then the most senior, we have some leave of absences, we have some substitutes. So for example, the committee just reviewed the non-renewal list. Those are to cover the people that have the most seniority and experience. But that is the cost saving. We would need 2 less first grade educators in the district upon closing Hope Valley. We would need 1 less grade 2 teacher. We do need our grade 3 and grade 4 based on our enrollment. So that's why you don't see those grades there. But this is the real cost savings. However, I don't know, Mr. Zennian, if you don't mind, if you could share I gave the committee an email that Mr. Zennian received from Trotwell's, that we actually have $12,000. If it stays open, you would then have to add an additional $12,000 at least to be able to run the food service program at Hope Valley.
So we are legally required to feed the students. As enrollment continues to drop in Hope Valley, it costs us more for the food and the labor than what we're bringing in. So that is starting to happen this year. And with that, we are doing an audit of the National Food Association is auditing our food services. And as part of that, I did ask Chartwells to tell me, what do you think Hope Valley will cost us next year? And we will have a $12,000 deficit to feed the students in grade 2nd through 4th next year.
So then we'd have to add that.
So we would have to add that. That would come out of our pockets, and then the following year it would probably be more.
And just for the community members, next year, Hope Valley is projected to have 97 students. Is that right, for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th?
They have 97, correct?
Yes.
97, okay. So I also had a question about the maintenance and the utilities. It's referenced here, 195,000. So are you looking at traditional bills over, this year, last year, the year before, to come up with the $195,000 figure?
So a 12-month rolling average was done. So for example, a 12-month rolling average of electricity, then that was deducted, a 12-month rolling average of what it costs for diesel fuel to heat Hope Valley. We looked at other expenses such as garbage. Expenses that are not included in that is anything that the students would need. So for example, paper, we did not use that as a deductible because that will shift to the other buildings. So it is hard cost of things that we will no longer be paying for. Because we would no longer be operating Hope Valley if you close it.
Okay, and I have one more question. So the nurse, so there is a nurse at Hope Valley, and you said that there was a resignation, I believe, the last time,
So right now, we have a resignation for the end of the school year. If we keep Hope Valley open, we would have to fund the nurse, but we have an ability to then now remove that cost with nobody to be impacted.
Okay.
And it's very likely you will not hire a nurse if no one's going to come here knowing that they're going into a school that's closing.
So we'd have to go with
you're
contracted
through
service.
contract agency, which could cost you even more.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, and then custodian. So I have a similar question about the custodial. So Hope Valley, it says here a $60,000 custodial cost. So would that custodian then, based on either seniority or tenure, would that custodian get positioned in another building?
So if it's a custodian with seniority, they would be moved to another building. We currently have 5 openings, so we would have 4 openings.
Okay,
So again, no one would be impacted.
okay. All right, does anybody else have any questions? Larry?
Now, say we close it. It goes back to the town. Can the town come back at us and say, hey, this ain't the way we gave you this, this ain't the way we gave you that? I'm just,
They can, but it would be very unlikely that they would have any ground to stand on.
okay.
Especially, if you go back to the minutes, Mr. Day, when they received that building, it was, I quote Mr. Day from those minutes, the worst of any building they've ever seen provided to the district.
Okay, just a question. I'll throw it out there.
So I just want to comment on that. I just want to comment on that to say that I think if we are seriously considering potentially closing Hope Valley Elementary School, that before that decision is made, we should proactively reach out to the town council of Hopkinton and have a discussion or a walkthrough to talk that through, because, we're basing our decision on you're telling us that the school would be returned to the town in a manner that was in better condition than what it was turned over. I just want to make sure that we are transparent, we are have open lines of communication with the elected officials of Hopkinton, because I just think that that's the right thing to do. That's just my 2 cents.
So we did do the walkthrough last year. We did it with all the town councils, actually, because Councilor Hurst had come up and it said something similar as to what Mr. Phelps said, and it sent, very upsetting to our custodians, because they do a lot of good work every single day. So to make sort of an assumption that the building is not well kept, or it's old, and it absolutely is. And it definitely needs, like we know that right now, the roof and septic will need to be taken care of. However, when we did that walkthrough, there was, and I was with the current president, the current vice president, all the town council came. We walked with our facilities. We actually had, it was community members that showed up, and we walked the entire building. We let them see every single nook and cranny, and no one had any concerns.
Okay. Diane?
Yes, well, I'd like to speak to that as far as the concerns are. It did come to my attention that the Town of Hopkinton Town Council has concerns over the condition of the facility at this time and the condition of the facility when it was turned over in the last 5 years, and the maintenance on everything. And there is a list of items here that within the last 5 years should have or could have been addressed. But in returning Hope Valley School to the town of Hopkinton, that would place that building and the responsibilities of all the repairs and the maintenance that was not maintained on that building over the last 5 years in the laps of the Hopkinton residents, which I am not in
Are you
agreement
willing to
with.
give her a copy of that list to us?
Sure. I also think it's important to understand that when we're talking about what the town of Hopkinton is saying, we have our minutes. And we also have the conversations of town council members coming to this committee requesting that you not invest in Hope Valley Capital, which you did not for 3 years. We took on that cost as a district in good faith when we were planning our elementary schools. So the history here is very well kept, and I'm happy to put our history against their history any day.
So I have a question for the administration. If Hope Valley School, if the school committee votes that this is potentially the last year of Hope Valley Elementary, you had said the septic and the roof. So would we have to, as a school committee, have to incur the costs to repair the septic and the roof as part of it?
The roof is still functioning, and it does not currently leak, and the septic system is currently working.
Correct. What we're saying is everything has a lifespan. So the longer, and if you keep Hope Valley open, you're going to pay dollar for dollar because you will not get reimbursed for any dollars you put in, which is why the committee agreed when members of the town council asked them not to invest if they were going to plan on closing it. And because they had the new plan to revise the elementary schools. With that being said, I think, it's nice what people remember, but I'm going to say Donna Siskavich did an amazing job. And there's a lot of town council members that come up to every single time for a budget, asked you all to, and I know Mr. Day sat here 5 years ago requesting that the capital budget be reduced so that you could, in good faith, focus on your elementary school planning. That school is in better condition, and I will absolutely say that. And when I did the walk, there were no concerns. So I will not take hearsay. I think that conversation needs to happen with the council present, and I'm not going to say everyone needs to bring the receipts.
Well, that was my suggestion. I think in the spirit of this is a very big deal, potentially closing a school. And I believe in open communication, honest, blunt, straightforward communication. So I think it's probably in everybody's best interests that before this decision is made, one way or another, that there is a discussion with the Hopkinton Town Council before the decision is made. That's just my opinion. And, I try to work in the spirit of cooperation whenever we can. And, we're all decision makers for either the town or the school committee. So, I think everybody should be around the table, especially the 4 Hopkinton school committee members, because it's going to impact, you all the most.
So as you're making these decisions, you may want to keep in mind that the school committee has a plan in place to close Hope Valley over the next 3 years.
Correct.
So if you continue along that plan, you may also want to plan to budget some money for capital repairs to Hope Valley to return it to Hopkinton.
Right, right. Understood. Thank you for that point. Jess, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, so a couple comments. I think, as I've said time and again, I think the regional aspect of our school district is our greatest asset, but it also causes issues between towns, between town councils and school committees. And part of the issue that we've had over the last 20 years, as enrollment has shifted to charter schools in some ways and birth rate has gone down, yes, we've had decreased enrollment, is that we've maintained more schools than we have students for. And so while this is a difficult decision, it does make a lot of sense. But I just want to stress that it's not just Hopkinton that's impacted. Richmond School is the school that would take on those 100 kids. And Charlestown Elementary School is the school that would take on those 93 kids that are in pre-K. And so it really is a bigger impact than just 97 children or 93 or one town versus the other. Like, we really are all in this school district together. And that, I just want to stress that. And I do think there's been a lot of communication with Hopkinton. I was at that walkthrough. We all went through the building. There were different folks that have worked in there, and I've been in all of these buildings, and they are well maintained, they are well loved, they are clean, but they have aging infrastructure. They have heating units that are older than me. They have HVAC that is outdated, and then layers of technology as it's come into the school, layers of tiles, layers of paint, they need a lot of improvements. It costs a lot of money. I can tell you personally, my goal with this budget is not to level fund. I was in favor of closing Hope Valley when we had a long-term plan of 3 modern schools that were equalized in size, that would serve our community well for the next many generations. Now, I'm less assured of that path, knowing where these children have to go into our aging school buildings. I do not want to level fund, but I do see that, the increase for Richmond is at 3.7%. And I can't really bear sending that to our residents, and myself included. So my goal personally, just to be transparent about it, would be to get Richmond down a percentage point, which to my understanding is about $400,000. I think that's fairly reasonable, but then again, keeping Hope Valley open poses other problems. You don't want these kids to feel like they don't have a full school. You don't want to be spending money on a building that is slowly emptying. I think it has effects not just on the fiscal, but culture and climate of that school building as well. So I have concerns either way, but level funding is not my main goal, but getting Richmond down a percentage point at least is.
Jess, may I just ask to you and to Gina, when did that walkthrough take place? June of 2024?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And so I know, it wasn't just the current town councilors, candidates were there too. So Miss Roy was there, the other
James
gentleman
was
who was
attended.
elected was there.
The fire chief
The
came.
current town council members were there because of what Scott Billhurst had said, which was very similar to what Larry said, which he was worried about how the building had been maintained.
Okay, thank you. Laura, and then Craig, and then Diane.
Sorry,
Can we put the lights up now? Is this good for everybody?
you mind when the lights back on?
Thank you.
So I just wanted to, on the issue of Hope Valley, when those 2 students came up here and spoke, I look at that and knowing that they don't have the high C program at Hope Valley Elementary School.
I can't hear you. Could you speak up?
The 2 students that came up and spoke earlier, that when they were talking about the high C program, they obviously have that at all the elementary schools, Charlestown as well. And my thought is kind of, at this point, if it almost feels like that because of how the grades are being phased out, that now it's starting to affect the students that are at that school. Is that accurate, Gina?
I think it impacts all your families, all your teachers, all your students that are attending Hope Valley, absolutely. I said that last time. We have, our buildings are not 21st century, and I completely understand what Ms. Purcell is saying, because that was the hope, right? That we would be able to, the 21st century learning facilities for our students. That's what RIDE continues to harp on with our biggest concern around some of the infrastructure. Because the buildings are old, and they're not going to get newer when we put new kids in them, but they are what we have. And that was a decision made by voters. And now we have, on our list, we're going to be discussing a new capital plan. But we have 3 other schools that are excellent, high-performing 5- and 4-star elementary schools that have excellent educators, where these educators and these students will flourish as well. The building has been well-loved. But again, there's only so much we can do with because now we have 4 old, aging buildings. Richmond has been, and definitely one of those needs. We're going to have to reopen the basement level, which is still, I'm sure, going to be concerns. We've done all of our reviews of all the buildings. They're needy, all of them. And when the school committee decided to hold on capital improvements across the elementary schools because of the plan, there was a lot of, good intent, but when the plan didn't pass, we're still left with 4 old facilities, and I guarantee when anyone walks into our schools, they're old. Now, I've heard people say, they're fine. That's what I went to school with. So if that's what people believe, but that's not what the report is saying, and we know septics go, HVAC is our biggest concern, you don't see them, but, when you have AC units in every elementary school, it's not efficient when you're running the AC. When you have the HVAC, you may put in a new boiler, but all of the control panels are old. So there's only so much, RIDE will say that they consider a building at life at 50 years. Ours have been, they've lived 2 lives at this point, and they're going on a 3rd. And we're doing our best to maintain and keep them clean. But I agree, we know the library media. Richmond has an emergency certified teacher in the library media. Ashway has no librarian. Hope Valley has no librarian. That, unfortunately, is a hard-to-fill need, which is why we're reshifting that role and that position to what we think somebody will absolutely flourish and be able to do. But yeah, putting a educator, people are not going to want to come to positions that are not guaranteed, or that they could, while you're shifting about a school, people are less likely to come in and join the team.
So is there, it almost seems like it would be helpful, I'm guessing, because there seems to be a lot of, pushback with the families whose children do still go to Hope Valley right now, which is understandable. Is there a way to, I guess if there's only 97 students there, is there some sort of outreach or something to that effect that can be done to kind of, help alleviate some of that process of, the scare that comes along with that? Because I certainly hear it, at different places. So
What I'm hearing is they want to know, because are you going to do this year? You're going to do it next year? When you're phasing out? Because we all know the cost is going to get larger. And this is what we know minimum. But there are things that are happening, like when Chartwell's, because just in case, people may not understand, we have students who bring their lunch to school themselves. They're made by their families and they bring them to school, so they don't need the lunch purchased. So what's happening is students who need to get their lunch at school, there's not enough students that are purchasing because they're bringing their lunch. And as those numbers dwindle, we're saying at minimum, it'll be at $12,000, and that's just one area. So we're giving you minimum of what we know will cost savings. But Jess Purcell is correct. Our facilities are in dire need of updating, and it's not because if they were just office buildings, there's a difference. But we're educating our students. So when it gets cold and it's not as and you're having heaters hanging from the ceilings and heaters hanging from to try to get people warm again, it is not conducive to educating them and learning. And all of our buildings have been well loved, and they're kept up the best possible that they can be kept. But there's only so much paint, and so many times you can fix something where you say, do you want to? If you're going to invest in HVAC, I think we've shared that. At Richmond alone, you were talking about a huge millions of dollars of HVAC necessary, just because of the way the whole building is laid out. You know, they weren't meant to live, 100 years.
So is if the closure was, I'm just speaking hypothetically, if it was expedited, are you saying that the other 3 elementary schools couldn't even at this point house those kids?
No, they can.
Oh,
It's
they
just,
can.
it's not going to be pretty. And I mean, people are going to say,
Is
oh,
there a plan in place? We've walked all the buildings, we have all the rooms set up, the principals are aware, they've been involved in it. But you're not moving them into new buildings, you're moving, our buildings are old.
right, they're all catching up with Hope Valley. Like Richmond and Hope Valley are almost the same age, and then you've got Charlestown not far behind, and then Ashaway.
Hold on, I think we had Craig and Diane that had some comments. Craig, did you have your hand raised?
Were you gonna go first?
No, you can go ahead.
I just wanted to add to what Greg was saying in reference to Hope Valley. Let's not forget, this was handed over to us in 1986. That was 37 years ago. And being on this committee long enough, I remember we wanted to replace the windows at Ashway School for 7 straight years, and the town council for Hopkinton kept telling us, just kick the can down the road a little bit further. Because they didn't, and we understand the dynamics of cost rising, but there comes a point where you got to invest or you got to move on. So I just wanted to add my.
And Jess is correct. All just about 96 of the 97 would head to Richmond. That's correct.
96 of the 97. Okay, thank you. Diane?
Okay, and I just want to add one thing, okay? I understand Hope Valley, it's not going to live forever. I get it, okay? It's sentimental, yes, to a lot of people in this town, okay? But we have to move forward in some way, okay, to achieve what we need to achieve. I'm voicing my concerns at this point of, we haven't gotten the independent report from Veritas, have we?
You probably, I talked to Ride based on, it's in there. They haven't even gone back to us. Well, they usually give us a preview. We haven't even seen it yet.
You haven't even seen it yet, okay. Because, I had understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, they talked about a total demolition of that building.
They've asked about demolition of a lot of our buildings.
Well, I'm just saying that was raised, okay?
Yes.
So now we're looking at, and the town of Hopkinton is looking at, covering the cost of that demolition and covering the cost of repairs in that building all on our own in the town of Hopkinton. That's steep, and I know there are going to be a lot of people that are not going to be happy to hear about that. So that's why we really need to have more conversations about how the whole closure of this place is going to happen, even with the town council. I am in agreement with that. I understand it has to close. I get it. I do. I just want to do it the right way.
Okay, so, Pat?
So you were saying with like the nursing position that you have someone retiring? So
Resigning, yep, they resigned at the end of the year.
So if that nurse in Hope Valley goes over to the vacant position, now you have a vacancy in Hope Valley that you said most likely no one's going to put in for it because they know they're going to be out of a job in a couple of years. So what happens when you can't fill that nursing position?
We have to use a contracted service at a higher cost.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. Are we ready to vote to approve the fiscal year 26 budget at this point?
Can you just reiterate the motion that's on the floor? as
Madam
is?
Clerk?
That's okay. I just want to make sure.
The-
I completely understand. I apologize. Thank you so much.
I believe it's just to approve the FY26.
That's what I
budget.
thought.
Yeah, to approve the FY 26 budget.
Okay.
No changes.
Okay, so with no changes as of this point. Right. So all in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda, letter to the Rhode Island Department of Education, School Building Authority for emergency expenditures.
Mr. Zennia?
I'll ask you after.
Sorry. This is the letter to ride for our emergency expenditures. We've been doing it every year since I've been here because we do not have an official capital improvement plan. And the only way that we get reimbursed is by submitting this letter to the Department of Education.
So you
I would like, I recommend approval to submit this letter to RIDE for reimbursement of emergency expenditures.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. I think Jess seconded you before, Diane? Okay. Any discussion? Larry?
It says exterior and interior doors district-wide. Now, is that all the schools?
It would focus mainly on the elementary schools. We have our targeted list. There are doors, like, for example, with some of the boiler rooms, there are doors with some of the cafeterias that we believe are unsafe, could be potentially more easily accessed.
Some of the original, like
So
old.
we would
No, I was
start
just asking
there.
because I know it's in the,
No,
$15 million
it would
bond
not,
to do doors. and
No,
windows.
this is for the elementaries,
Okay, okay.
you just write it district-wide, so you have flexibility.
in case we have an emergency in the district that we're
Okay.
not prepared for.
So you said something, Gina, about reimbursement. So this
Yes.
is eligible for
So,
how much reimbursement?
$500,000.
no, we are asking for 500,000, we would be reimbursed at 61%, so we would get back about 305,000. If you look at your budget, that's what we also included for the FY '26. So if we do not do this, you're gonna be 300,000 to hold in housing aid for next year.
So remember, housing aid is 1 year behind.
Okay, and we have enough money in our capital
do.
line item
Yes.
to, okay, thank you. Any more discussion?
I just have one.
Polly?
Didn't we replace one of these Ashway boilers?
You did.
A few years ago?
You have
So
one
there's
new
two, right?
Ashway boiler and one on its way.
Great, that's
So
what I thought.
why both weren't replaced at the same time, I'm not sure,
Money.
but yes,
The
so.
Swamp Yankee way.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Are we ready to vote? Okay, so all in favor to send the letter to RIDE, School Building Authority for emergency expenditures?
Pony Express.
It's unanimous, thank you. Okay, D, requests to utilize the State of Rhode Island Master Price Agreement list for Charlestown and Ashway boilers and, oh, we did that already.
No. Keep going.
Oh, okay. And exterior and interior doors district-wide to access housing aid reimbursement.
So this would allow us to go to the master price agreement list versus going out to bid. We do know that there are boilers actually in stock right now. Keep in mind, if this work is not completed by June 30th, we will not be reimbursed with the housing aid for the FY '26 budget. Also keep in mind that the master price agreement very likely will get you better prices.
Okay. Questions? Craig?
Greg, how much swing time do they need to dismantle, take out, put a new one in before that date?
So, it depends on, we would probably order all 3 boilers at once. We would hopefully get 2 in. The way our boiler rooms are set up at Ashway and Charlestown, there's an exterior door, so the work can be done during the school day. Furthermore, currently, the boilers are running, so you can take one offline, replace it, and then take the other one. We have worked very closely with 1 or 2 of the companies that have replaced boilers in the district. We're being assured that putting 3 boilers in this time frame is not an issue.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Laura?
There's no issues with lead times on actually getting the boilers in. You're saying that that's what that master agreement list is or something? Is that?
We have a call in with the master price agreement and we know that there are 2 boilers currently in stock.
Okay, and the third one is?
The third one, it's gonna get interesting because, they have to be forged. There was a 25% tariff put on, steel and, aluminum. So, could change the prices a little bit, but, my hope is that we could get it in before everything really starts to roll. And, I have talked extensively with Jason, and we do believe we could have it done by the June 30th date.
Great.
And then the doors would be done based on what is our highest need and what is in stock.
And did the doors, do those have to, so those also fall under that time frame of being reimbursed?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Oh, no, it was never,
I recommend approval.
so moved.
Okay, second? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Diane? All in favor? Unanimous. Next, stage 1, elementary planning, application to RIDE.
So you've seen this before. This is the same package. We have to resubmit it. We're allowed to hold it for 1 year in queue. So this gets us back in the queue with RIDE to be able to begin again. Stage 1, for those that may not have heard this before, means that you have to provide to RIDE your facility review. Now, the Bureau Veritas report isn't completed. They know that. So we packaged it with the old reports, and then when the new report comes in, they recognize we're responsible to use that report.
So I have a question. So what can you, I know that this is a 1,500 to 3,000 page application. So can you give us your high level assessment of what is the end game for the stage 1 elementary planning application to RIDE? So what are we hoping to achieve by
you
the
have
stage
to
1
have it.
application?
So you have to have you're required by law to have a 5-year capital improvement plan. You can't have a 5-year capital improvement plan, which is part of stage 2, without a stage 1 review of your facilities. They recognize that we would begin meeting with our necessity for school construction once the new report goes live. However, this is required to be able to show the good faith, because if we're not complying, then they can take our state aid allocation and tell us what to do with it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we have to make sure that it's up. It expires in 1 year. If we don't get a stage 2 ready, and for February 15th, 2026, then we have to pay for another stage 1.
Okay, Jess?
I make a motion to approve the stage 1 elementary planning application to RIDE.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. 2026 school committee meeting schedule.
I do recommend approval. We did add the budget workshop, just like you had asked for this year. We added it to next year as well, so that it will happen after the February vacation to give you a little bit more time.
So you'll also see on this page a caveat underneath the meeting schedule, which says, during the 2026 school year, the school committee may consider scheduling a workshop or retreat to support the district's priorities and align with the strategic plan. While this may be scheduled at any time, the committee is currently exploring options for dates in August 2026 or October 2026. I asked Gina, the superintendent, to put that on this sheet because I feel really strongly that we have, our meetings, which are extensive in terms of agenda items, and we don't necessarily take the time that I think we should be taking to support the superintendent with her strategic plan, with her priorities around academic excellence. And I do think that those things should take some time and some thoughtfulness. And so that's why I wanted that to be added to the 2026 calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the 2026 school meeting schedule?
So moved.
Okay, we've got Diane. Do I have a second? Polly? Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. 2025, 2026 school calendar. Gina.
So this, we have the state calendar that gives a guide, and then what we have to do is we have to ensure that we meet all of the law requirements regarding the school calendar. So this has been reviewed at all of our departments and provide feedback, but I'm happy to answer questions of the committee. But I am recommending approval of the school calendar for the 2025-2026 school year, and happy to answer any questions.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the school calendar.
I'll second it.
Who seconded that? Was that Karen? Okay. Discussion? Okay, Jess and then Laura.
No.
I was just wondering, I did notice that the start dates were earlier. And is that,
Speak up.
sorry.
Okay,
The start date for the calendar is in August, so school would start on August 27th, I believe. Was that so that we could, because of what happened the previous year, how it, basically ended up where kids were in school for until, I can't remember the date, but into when camp had already started, basically. Was that kind of why that was done?
No, actually, it was because of the 171 days for the seniors. They have to have 171 instructional days, and we have a 3-year graduation contract based on that day, so we have to work backwards. So we had to shift it, although EWG had gone back to that schedule. Many of our, except for, I think, Narragansett and
South Kingstown.
I want, there were 2 that we're considering, but that's why we when we have it, we do it early enough so people can plan.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Jess?
That was the same thing I was going to point out.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the 2025-2026 school calendar? Okay, is it unanimous? Okay, all in favor? Yes. No? Okay.
No, I abstain.
Okay, so we have, an abstention from Craig. Do we have any noes? No. Okay, great. Food service adult meal price increase. Gina, did you want to speak to this, or Mr. Zenyan?
I am recommending approval. Go ahead, Mr. Zenni.
So, as part of this review we're doing, it's been brought to our attention, and I have said in past memos that our pricing is not accurate, does not accurately reflect what our meals are costing. So we're recommending that breakfast for adults move from $150 to $225, and for lunch from $375 to $425, which is still very reasonable. And if you approve this, will take effect on Monday, March 3rd. And then we will, in early June, look at the price increase for students, which we would do with the start of the 25-26 school year.
Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the food service adult meal price increase? Motion. Do we have a second? Donna? Yep. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Craig, I didn't see
Yeah, I did.
Thank you so much.
That was behind this.
Okay, next, request to go out to RFQ, request for qualifications for district legal services. So, do you want me to speak to this? Or do you want to start?
I can, however you want to do it.
Okay, so this was an agenda item that I wanted to put on the agenda. I know that we have able legal representation, and I believe their contract is expiring on June 30th. Similarly, was it last year or the year before, the school committee decided that they were going to evaluate an auditing firm because we had been with the same auditors for a number of years, and that it was best practice to go out to bid for another, potential, auditor to audit the district. So in that spirit, knowing that the contract is going to be coming to a close on June 30th, I thought it was part of a best practice to go out to an RFQ for legal services. So with that being said, did anybody, so I need do I need a motion on this? So I need a motion on this, then a second, and then discussion, right?
I'll second.
Okay, so motion to approve. Second is Polly. Discussion. Larry?
Where it says, qualification requirements, isn't that being, keeping the group of people that are so-called qualified to bid on this? You're saying you gotta have, 3 public schools under your belt now that you're representing. Does that really need to be there?
You could take off everything. The committee doesn't have to even go out to bid.
Yeah.
I'd like to remove 2, 3, 4, and 5 off the.
No.
No. So your recommendation, Larry, is, so we have a draft RFQ in front of us under.
So actually, before, I would say, because there's a couple of things, just so we don't get confused.
Okay.
So the first thing that you're being asked for is to go out to bid for legal services. The bid is only if it gets approved. So you probably should first discuss this before you talk about, because the RFQ is in the consent if approved.
Okay.
So let's handle that first.
So the discussion is whether or not we want to go out for bid.
Right, and
Okay.
just to remind you that this is where the school committee has complete purview. You don't need to go out, the only thing the committee is required to do is put it on the agenda, whatever action you want to take. You don't have to go out to bid, you can select somebody that doesn't bid. These requirements have come from other districts that recently, within a few years, East Providence, Foster Gloucester, East Greenwich, and Charahoe in 2007.
And Exeter, West Greenwich, right?
I don't know if I used Exeter West Greenwich. I think it was East Greenwich, but maybe. And the compilation, myself, Mr. Zenian, Dr. Kamala have all reviewed to ensure that it mirrors, in our special education department, that it mirrors what we're currently doing around the needs of the district. So the two must have experience with federal and state education law. I can tell you, we have court cases in federal and in state, so you want to be really mindful that someone has that background, because if you don't, then that puts us at a disadvantage. So it would be my recommendation to keep in number 2. Again, my recommendation. 3 public school districts, you want to know that they are working with other districts, because Rhode Island law is different than Mass law, which is different than Connecticut law. So you want to make sure but again, that's my advice. The committee can, at your will, you can change that. That's up to you. And then number 4, was it, Mr. Phelps, did you say 4, 2, 3, 4?
Yes.
4 was must have significant experience in special education law.
You have to have that.
Well,
Special education law,
before
that,
you bid on this, you would think the person would have
though
experience.
there's not many that do. So for example, and Mrs. Denny, would you share, like Westerly is an example?
So, yes, I started digging around to, see what kind of deal we had, and Westerly pays $90,000 to have a lawyer represent their school committee. Then they pay another $90,000 in not in a fixed fee. That's what they paid last year to have all their other legal services done at $250 an hour. I will advise you that if you do decide to go out to look for a new attorney, you have now taken the budget over. You're going to want to add at least $100,000 to your legal fees, because what you currently budget for is not going to be anywhere near what you're going to pay.
That's kind of what
Jess?
So I have numerous comments. Thank you for sharing that you put this on the agenda. In previous practice, it would say who requested an agenda item. I did like that because it showed where it came from. I was surprised to see it because the school committee previously approved John's contract August 20th, 2024. So it seemed to me like we just did this. I don't understand why this is on the agenda. At that time, it was approved, I believe, 9 to 2 because we were missing one member at the time. And at that time, it was discussed, the cost was great. John has a lot of historical knowledge with the district. That's really valuable. To draw a distinction between the time that we changed the auditor, that auditor was undergoing the firm was undergoing a federal, some sort of investigation.
Criminal.
Criminal investigation. It wouldn't have affected us, but we thought in that case, and it's very different. An audit is a once yearly annual, it's a mathematical formula essentially that they plug in. John works on a daily basis. I don't know the percentage of work he does for the school committee versus the district, but what he does for the district on a daily basis, after hours, on the weekends, is a lot more than what he does for this committee, even though we're in charge of his agreements. So I think that that's just something to show him respect for, the work that he has done. I think that special education is huge. The legal requirements of a public education system, and one as large as ours, there is just so much. I also want to, like the current cases he's involved in is a concern to me. And I just want to make sure that we're really being, honest about our goals. And finding new legal counsel has been rumored around this district for years. And to see it pop up on the agenda like this is a surprise to me. Some folks have reached out to me. It was, you know, I say surprise, but also not, because like I said, the rumors have been swirling for years that this is a goal. And I can only anticipate, especially based on what Larry is saying, who would sit in this position that is unqualified to represent us and what kind of trouble that would get us in. So I feel very leery. I feel mistrustful, to be honest, just to be transparent about it. And I'm not sure how this really aligns with the district's strategic mission and vision. And I'd like to maybe hear a little more from other folks as well.
Yeah, I just want to speak to that, because when you say that there's rumors and there's mistrust, that's rumors, and I don't pay any attention to rumors. So this is something that I felt should be on the agenda, because the contract is coming to a close on June 30th. Whether we decide as a school committee to reappoint or extend the contract is a group decision, a school committee decision. We have contract negotiations coming forward. If, you know, it would not be a great thing to make a change if the committee decided that they were going to make a change in the legal firm, to make a change in the middle of contract negotiations. I don't think that that's beneficial to anyone concerned. So the timing of this is the timing. So I'm a forward thinker. It's a June 30th contract ends. We're heading into contract negotiations with the NEA, and if we are being mindful of timing, the timing would be now to discuss whether or not to make a change. That was my goal in this. It's not to say, this is no disrespect to the firm. The firm is an excellent firm. My personal attorney years ago was from this firm. There are a finite number of law firms in Rhode Island that handle education law and special education law, and I'm mindful of that. But you know, this is something that I felt if there was going to be a change potentially made, that this would be the most, you know, appropriate time to make such a change. But you know, I'm one person, and I'm not saying that I want to make a change. I'm just saying that we should, as a committee, have the thoughtfulness and the mindfulness to make sure that we are evaluating everyone that does work for the district. That was my thought. So I'm sorry that you feel that way about the mistrust and the rumors. I don't care about rumors. I care about what the 12 people here have to say on the subject. Is there anybody else that wants to talk to this? Donna?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Jess, for very nicely saying what I was thinking. I've been on this committee for about 8 years. When the contract comes up for the law firm, Ned, before you, Greg, did the same thing. They checked around. They checked prices for other law firms. We have a bargain. As long as I have been on this committee, John Anderson has been available and addressed all of the issues that I have been concerned with, and everyone else. And I would like to recommend not going out for bid. I think it's an insult. I think we get what I would consider a good amount of legal advice from this law firm, and I think we should just stick with it. It's Greg found out it's going to cost us more money if we switch at any point, and I don't think we should open that can of worms. I don't believe we should go out for bid.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Someone's got to add their.
Oh, sorry, I did say Linda and Laura and Karen and Craig.
I guess I need to understand something before I make my decision on how I want to go, which way I want to go on this. So your ultimate goal is to save the district money?
I think my ultimate goal is to make sure that we have the best representation possible for the district moving forward.
Okay, regardless of the cost.
you know, if there is a subcommittee put forward, which is on the agenda for a subcommittee, the subcommittee would have to evaluate that and bring that forward to the full committee.
And just to clarify, you made a point about the negotiations. If you think the negotiations are going to be done by June or September, or even next year, I think maybe you guys can get that done, but I think to change attorneys in the middle of a negotiation would be detrimental to negotiations.
And that was one of the reasons why putting it on the agenda sooner rather than later, because.
But if you make the change in
Yep.
June, you're going to be in the middle of negotiations.
Okay, thank you.
That's my point.
Laura?
Greg, where did you, the 100,000 that you were speaking of?
Could
where
you
did-
please speak
The
to
100,000 that you were speaking of, Greg, where did that come from? Was it like, did you speak to other offices or something? I was just curious.
I started to, I didn't have much time because I had to wait for their agenda to go public. Because if I started asking people about attorneys, they would immediately want to know what's happening with our current attorney. And out of respect for our firm, I did not do that. But I did start asking around, and I will tell you, the deal you have is unheard of. I cannot find anyone that comes close to what we are paying.
For the level of service.
Well, I don't believe he's ever lost a case for us. So, but you know, that's the committee's choice. You have the choice to go out. But if you go out, be prepared to spend a lot more because, I don't know. I haven't spoke to the, Mr. Anderson about this, but if it was me, I wouldn't bid it. I would move on. So, you may lose the best deal you have with the best amount of money. So just be prepared to spend more.
Right. Okay, who was next? Was that Craig? No, Karen, sorry.
So I was going to comment, as Linda had, that if we're going into negotiation, now is probably not the best time to change our attorneys. I'd also like to state that we're one of only 2, if I'm correct, school districts that get a flat rate versus per call, which I think saves us in the long run. People don't feel the financial crunch of having to call and say, this is, this phone call is going to cost the district money. So in the long run, it actually saves us money. And I'd like to share that when we were doing this last year, Catherine Colasante actually commented that, quote, "It's impressive that Attorney Anderson hasn't lost a case, and his flat rate is impressive as well." So Mr. Anderson is highly regarded amongst other attorneys, amongst judges. He's taken very seriously, and his knowledge of our district and knowledge of special education law is probably exceeds any other attorney in the state.
Thank you, Karen.
Just quickly, I did a very quick budget check. Barrington currently, $245,000 for legal fees.
Thank you. Pat?
This might be, it's like, when you're talking about John, the person, not the law firm. I mean, John's getting older. I mean, at some time in his life, he's going to retire. So that's something, even if it's within his own law firm, right now you're saying he's like one of the best, and that's great, but we're going to be in a position at some point that we're not going to have John, per se, anymore. So that's something to consider as well.
So Donna, I know you already spoke on this. Okay. Are there any, besides Donna, is there anybody from the committee that wanted
Yeah,
to?
I did have
Craig?
my hand up.
Sorry, yes.
I concur 100% with Jessica. Chair, your first meeting, you gave a lengthy speech, and you addressed the fact of us working together. She alluded to something in reference to a lack of trust. And this is only reinforcing the lack of trust. All right, now, working together is just that. And maybe listening to what someone has said and taking that in, internalizing that. So, like I said, I 100% agree with her. Hopefully you've listened to some others who have different opinions than yours.
I'm always willing to listen to different opinions, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm always going to agree with your opinion. Sometimes I have a strong point of view on things.
We have noticed that.
And
Okay.
we have noticed that of you as well.
But here's a prediction. Is this going to be a party line vote?
I don't know. Donna?
I just wanted to comment on what Pat said. And yes, we do have a lot of faith and trust in John. Sean came along tonight, and I was just as happy with his participation in our executive meeting as I would have been with John. We're contracted with the firm, and the quality of that firm is very important to me. And I would not want to jeopardize that.
Thank you. So seeing no other hands raised from the school committee.
Wait a minute, audio.
Yes, I know. Give me a second. I was going to say, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? Catherine?
This feels very short-sighted. I think Mr. Zenyan hit the nail on the head that you will pay significantly more for legal fees. John may leave his firm at some point. His firm is not going to bid on this contract. So not only will you be losing John, you will be losing his firm because you're sending a clear message by going out to bid that you don't have trust in them, whether you recognize it or not. And I think sometimes you need to recognize that your actions are speaking as loud, if not louder, than your words. I would not support this one iota. I think that you have, coming from a spouse who works in a different district that does not have a flat fee, every time he needs to get legal advice, he needs to get permission first, and it costs money. And that is not a comfortable position for an educator to be in. I don't need to talk to you about John and how he's never lost a case, but that should speak to you. And I think in this case, your actions are going to speak much louder than your words. And I know you don't listen to rumors, and I appreciate that. And I want to put my faith in all of you that you're going to do the best work for this district. But this particularly, right now at this point, feels like a vendetta for some school committee members, not you, Ms. Dinsmore. But other school committee members, this feels like a vendetta because you don't like John personally. And that is a short-sighted way to govern. So I hope you do not go out to bid for this. You will be losing John, you will be losing his firm, and it's slim pickings for educational lawyers. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Please state your name.
Sure. Greg Aberdeen from the town of Hopkinton. I would just like to ask, how long has John been employed by the school district?
I believe he was hired back in 2008.
2008. So we're looking at 17 years. I would like to echo Jess's sentiments that there is a real value to continuity and history. And if rumors are just rumors, short of some malfeasance or malpractice on his behalf, I think it's short-sighted and for no good reason. I honestly can't see any value in seeking bids from other law firms, especially earlier we were talking about saving the district money, cutting $1 million from the budget. And the cost of returning Hope Valley School to the town of Hopkinton in its original condition or in condition that it was going to use. We're talking about adding all those expenses, and now you want to add potentially another $100,000. I mean, to me, it's about you got to put the kids first, and if rumors are just rumors, then there has to be something else going on here, at least the way I see it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm Joe Jancarelli. I'm the principal at Charwood Middle School. 14 years in the district, John has saved us a ton. He gives us a flat rate. It's unbelievable the deal he gives us. I was in the school committee in another district. We had 3 attorneys, one for special ed, one for school committee, and one for that dealt with grievances and what did I put down? And negotiations and things like that. And that was probably over $200,000 combined. It's a lot. I know maybe John is a tremendous man, knows a lot, saved me from a few things. He's well worth what you are spending. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. I saw another hand up in the back. Hi, Donna.
Donna Siskavich. As a former employee of Charahoe, I worked here when John Earl was our attorney, and I loved John Earl, and sadly he passed away. So we went out to bid, and John Anderson's firm was hired. For the past 22 years, I cannot tell you how many phone calls each day I have made to John Anderson. Our staff has been trained by John Anderson. He comes down and does secretarial training and clerk training, so our staff is aware of custodial agreements, restraining orders, locator card issues. He comes down yearly to train our staff for free, never charged us, has never charged me for a phone call. I made 3 the other day on the warrant, so that the warrant, which we've never had one done this way, we had a vote taken in November to approve a bond. The bond got approved before the charge for the building committee was done. So you'll notice on your warrant, there's going to be a charge for the building committee, their charge of how they are going to operate. We've never had a warrant done like that. I called John 3 times the other day to help Angela do the warrant, so it was done legally, so there would not be a problem with it. Because once you put it in the paper, it's at least $300 for the posting in the paper. So if it was incorrect, it's going to cost the district more money and you wouldn't have the time to post it. John was on the phone with me an awful lot the other day. So I don't understand why I have worked for an attorney that charged by the hour. Every phone call was a charge. I was not allowed to call him. Only the superintendents were. I have learned an immense amount of knowledge from John, and I didn't have to pay for law school. So it saved the district a lot of money, and I'm not just looking at John, his whole firm, because when John's not available, I have worked with others. So I think to lose that firm is going to be a big loss for your district. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay. Oh, sorry, Laura. Go ahead.
I want to say that I appreciate what everybody has said tonight. I think that sometimes things can be misconstrued sometimes because the committee members, there's a lot of us up here are new. We haven't been on the school committee for 8 years. There's a lot of things that we just don't know. And, I often look at things from a business perspective when it comes to certain things, when it comes to contracts and, all sorts of stuff. So, when I saw this on the agenda, I was like, oh, that's great. That makes sense to me. That was kind of my first thought was, I send things out to bid constantly over 3-year periods, pretty much. So it's very enlightening to hear the other side of things. And I think, people could, if you're just a little bit more mindful of the fact that we are new to this whole process and there's a lot of things that, I personally just don't necessarily understand, and it's not anything nefarious or anything. It's really just, thinking that it's, if you have the potential to save money somewhere, then, I would always opt for something like that. But It sounds like John does have a very long history with the district, and I can also understand the implications of what that would mean if, there was another firm that becomes involved in that process of how that information would get to the new firm and all that other stuff. I could completely see the other side of how those costs could be extremely high after a very short period of time. So that's all I wanted to say.
All right. So we had a lengthy discussion on this. So Madam Clerk, can you just refresh my memory? We had a motion and a second to go out to RFQ?
Yes, a motion and a second.
Okay. So seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of going out to RFQ for district legal services? Okay. Those are the yeas, the nays? Okay. No abstentions? Okay. All right, moving on. Motion fails. Thank you all for your input. We appreciate it. Thank you. Request to open the district homework policy for review to compare the current policy to other high-performing school districts and to determine if a policy for elementary, middle, and high school should be separated. I believe this was an agenda item put forward by Laura.
Yes.
So Laura, would you like to chat about this? And I think Gina may have some input on this as well.
Sure.
So I brought this forward just because I felt like it was something that, should be looked at. I would prefer that this goes to the subcommittee for discussion, just so that they can really get into the details of everything. I know that, years ago, when my daughter was in 5th grade, I can remember that there was a policy where if a student was missing more than 3 assignments, then an automated phone call would go out to the parents. And I'm really big on engaging the parents because I feel like in Charahoe, in our community in general, we have an amazing group of parents. We all care about our kids deeply. So, and I think that, if there's a way for us to kind of get parents more involved in that whole process, I don't know if that is still something that happens where those phone calls go out after 3 assignments. I don't think that still happens, at least at the SIP meeting. Nobody couldn't really confirm whether that was still a thing. But just things like that, the goal isn't to necessarily add more of a workload to the students and to the teachers. It's mainly to look at the language within our homework policy and, kind of compare it to how other high-performing districts, have their policy worded. And if there's places where we can improve, maybe we need a separate policy for middle school students and as opposed to the high school students. That's somewhere where I feel like we could start. But yeah, that's all I really have.
I think, Gina, did you want to weigh in on this before we go to
I just want to
Karen?
remind the committee, this is just a request to go into the subcommittee, which would first have to go to SIT because it's teaching and learning and instruction. So the request simply is, we put it under review. So typically what happens when it involves teaching and learning, we gave the heads up to the school improvement teams that this was on the agenda to start thinking through. We've also used the quadrant of success as we've been pulling policies across the state. Some districts like EG, which would be in the quadrant of success, doesn't have a policy. They use a handbook. So there is homework protocol and then there's homework policy, but this will allow this to get into the subcommittee's hands, but it won't get into their hands until school improvement teams have to review first per the 2019 law. After they get time to review, that's why typically you need the charge of what you want the committees to look at. And this was what Ms. Chapman put together for us so that we could share that with the committees. And then middle, high, and elementary will all get together. And then those administrators that will speak on behalf of all their SITs will come to the subcommittee for conversation and review.
So because it's going to the school improvement team, we do not have to make a motion.
You do have, you request that, yes, you want us to review.
Okay.
Because it involves workload, it involves a charge.
Okay. Was there any other? Yep.
Shouldn't we make the motion first?
Yes, sure.
And then we can discuss
Okay, so do I have a motion to open the district homework policy for review?
and send
So
it back
moved.
to policy
So moved.
subcommittee.
Okay, so moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any more discussion on behalf of the school committee? Karen?
Oh, just a quick question. Are you just looking for parent notification of missing assignments, or are you actually looking at the amount of homework, the type of homework,
Well,
various grade levels? Like,
It's-
it
yeah,
does
it's kind
vary
of- it's
district to district,
collective.
because I kind
Right.
of started looking. But are you looking more for parent notification of missing assignments?
It seems, so our homework policy, the way it's currently written, it seems to encompass a lot of, it seems very broad to me. And, you know, my feeling on that is that if we, you know, if some of the educators can kind of, you know, like Linda and yourself, they could kind of chip in and say, you know, this is things that work, things that don't. Look at the other schools and see what they have. You know, I know that I looked through Barrington's, their homework policy, and theirs is very detailed and it's very, you know, very specific. It's outlined so that the expectations are very clear as far as what happens if, you know, a student is either missing work and then they have a list of steps on things that would be completed. So there's just a lot there where I felt like when I looked at our policy, it was kind of just broad and it encompassed all of the schools, all of the, you know, the grade levels.
Gina.
I want to be careful because there is definitely a difference between policy and protocol. There are many districts, Barrington is one of them, that will incorporate protocol into policy, which is never recommended. You want your policies to be larger in overview, because now when a teacher wants to make a change for a parent or for a child, they cannot if you put it in policy. So you try to give the flexibilities in your protocol, but the policy is a high-level overview of the expectations and the philosophy of the district homework policy. So you just want to be mindful, like, for example, like East Greenwich doesn't have policy because they give the freedom back to the educators to work with the families and the students as an individual need. It's in the handbook, which is what we can do. So you just want to be careful because North Providence got into this, so they've started to sift away from it, because when you have to change protocol, it means committee action, which can hinder the way families want us to interact with them. So you just want to be careful with that we're thoughtful. But I don't think there's any time, it hasn't been reviewed in a while. I think it's a good opportunity. We should always be checking our policies. So I think it's fine, and I agree with it, because I always think that this is an opportunity for us. I just want to make sure that we're mindful of the protocol versus policy, because it can get unwieldy if you do it. But I do think we have excellent school improvement teams, which often give us great feedback. And I think those that have been on the policy subcommittee, when the administrators come in, they're all, you know, I think we've had good conversations and dialogue.
Donna?
I was just going to say exactly what you just said, Gina. There's nothing wrong with reviewing. As a member of the policy committee, I think it's just a good idea to review policies, and I would totally support this.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did someone have their hand raised here? Jess?
Yeah, I was going to mention, question, if a school committee member wanted to go to a SIT meeting where that was on the agenda, that would be okay, correct?
Anybody, so school improvement team meetings are open to the public. So, you know, some people get people from the public, others have never, but like I know Mr. Zanian would have his little public section on the side, and so those that wanted to come in. But they're always open. They're posted on the website. They're posted for the meeting times and dates. So anyone is always welcome to attend, but they're not voting members unless they've been elected by their peer group.
Okay, I just want to make sure in case anybody wants to be part of that conversation as well.
Thank you. Did someone have their hand raised? Helen?
Helen Sheehan, Richmond. So I know a family where the child moved from one town to another town. In the first town, that child, elementary school, did have homework. And in the second town, the child did not have any homework. And the family felt as if the child's performance, engagement, and their involvement even in the child's education was hampered. So I would hope that for elementary school at least, that the children should be having homework. We want to improve our performance. We know of the top 40 countries, we are number 40. So we need to do something to improve it. And homework, I think, is part of how improvement will happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, are there any other comments from the school committee? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor to open the district homework policy for review to compare the current policy to other high-performing school districts? Aye. So it's unanimous, but Polly is somewhere else. Okay, all right. Thank you. Thanks, Laura. Thanks. Request to discuss Hope Valley School Play funding. This was put on the agenda, put forward by Diane. So, Diane, I know that there's a long history of this that Gina would like to give you a little bit of a heads up on, and to the whole school committee as well. So Gina, can you give us some background on this?
Sure, that's fine. So the request came about, the actual item was request to discuss Hope Valley School Play funding. So there is, and Mr. Giancarelli's here, so thank you for coming. Every year, there are 3 elementary schools, they have an allocation for their school specialty, it's called. That's a $2,000 allocation. So just for those that may not know, Ashway's theme school specialty is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Hope Valley's is the arts, Charlestown is outdoor learning, and Richmond is health and wellness. So they each were allocated. I want to say it started back in like 2016, 2017, with Superintendent Ritchie looking to really highlight different schools in different ways to see if he could get people across town lines, if you will. So in the 2017-2018 school year, a Charahoe High School student in the performing arts program at CTC at the high school joined the Rhode Island Youth Theater to work on performing arts collaboration and to provide their work experience hours for high school students enrolled in that pathway. In 2019, that program, in partnership with the Rhode Island Theater, had this student project where one of our students wrote the script and the music for a play, and then proposed to Hope Valley's principal that they do their work, their tech work, their specialty work, costumes designs, etc., and they utilize Hope Valley students as a way to do the performance. So it was a very innovative partnership. It was driven by a shared commitment of excellence in performing arts and a desire to expand opportunities for young performers. It was definitely a proposal that fostered a love for theater and to provide students with a platform to showcase their talents in elementary school. So it was our high school students' performing arts pathways that was utilizing our younger learners to be able to practice their work experience with that population. So the Rhode Island Youth Theater was the cornerstone of the state's cornerstone of arts community. They offer professional level training, performance experiences, and they funded this. So Chelsea Cook was absolutely free. She gave her time and volunteered countless hours, as did our humanities high school specialist, Dana Hall, volunteered her time, countless hours, to be able to support the performing arts CTE students in this endeavor. And then what happened, as my understanding is, recently, past spring, Ms. Cook no longer works for the theater. So that partnership ended, and there was nobody left at the theater that could put in the hours or the time to be able to maintain that level of work. Currently, our performing arts pathway students, there's ebbs and flows with, just like if you're a culinary student or you're welding, you don't necessarily ready for year 4 when you're starting, so they're at different levels, and they don't have anybody necessarily ready for that commitment. However, Mr. Scanapiego has been actively working throughout the year. There has been no reach out from Hope Valley personally from any educator looking to run the program, because you need a certified adult. But I know Mr. Scanapiego, I think as recently as yesterday, was meeting with his PTA president to figure out what we could do, because stage rights, things like that. So he's been actively working on it, even previous to the request. But what the larger conversation is, how do you do this for a fee that we can afford? Because I think Mr. Giancarelli said, well, the whole thing costs about $8,000. We don't have $8,000 to give to every school for school specialty. However, because the $6,000 cost was really, that was the Rhode Island Youth Theater Program. That's what they took in. What Mr. Giancarelli was able to do with his school specialty dollars is really that it paid for the police and fire, it paid for the logistical kinds of information, and all of the work actually came from the Performing Arts Pathway Program. And what we call, you may see in your budget every year, Arts Alliance. Arts Alliance, God rest her soul, Barbara Capalbo was an advocate for. And some of the dollars we allocate through the Arts Alliance to all of our schools for the arts, but including Hope Valley. That was one other way that we also funded it. Like I said, Miss Hall did dedicated hours for free, as did Chelsea from the Rhode Island Arts Theater. But overall, it was never funded through Hope Valley, so that the difficulty didn't come with the transition of, I just want to make sure, with administration, it was really because of change in the Rhode Island Youth Theater, but they are absolutely working on a solution. Mr. Scannapieco believes that they will be able to do a play. I don't know if it'll be at the level that we've been able to do with the theater, but definitely something I think that the kids would be proud of. But that's the history. Happy to answer if I can, and if not, I can get an answer if you need one.
Thank you. Diane, did you have any questions?
And that is really why I put it on the agenda, because I had parents asking about it.
Of course.
Saying, why aren't we having this play? What's going on? This is an important part of their progress and their education and their excitement about it, because these kids do get excited about doing a play. They're excited. And, so my concern was that it was just kind of being like, we're not really going to worry about it. So I really wanted to make sure that there was a focus on it, and that the community and the children are being heard. I mean, because obviously, the school library thing going on now and everything, it's just kind of like, we don't want to dishearten the children that are there still. We want to give them the opportunities still to be able to do the play, to be able to have their library, to be able to enjoy the time they still have there while they do.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people realize this had nothing to do, it was never in our operating budget. This was all done through partnerships and grants.
Okay, and I appreciate that, because I was not aware of that, and I didn't want to say, this one dropped the ball or that one dropped the ball or whatever it was. But the explanation for it is really what we needed.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Craig, did you have a comment?
Yeah, and I'm glad you gave the explanation. I would like to at least acknowledge our employees, because, think about it. If this was another district, they might have just let it drop to the wayside. Money dried up, the people moved on, but they're trying to keep it going. So, they didn't have to, but they did.
And I know Richmond uses a,
I
think there's a member of the public that wants to talk. So
Okay.
when
I'm
you're
sorry.
finished, Craig.
I have one. So, I'm sorry, Jess, what's the name of I'm blanking out, do you remember?
Theater Scrapbook.
Theater Scrapbook. So that's who Richmond uses. So they had, I know Mrs. Scannapieco had reached out to Mrs. Martin earlier to see if there's something that they can do. I know Ms. Hall has been trying to see if we can use one of the plays that we did with the middle school earlier. But again, it's just, you've got to find then someone who can do those 3 weeks in a row to prepare all of the children. So, and there's a lot going on. But I do appreciate everyone's willingness to try and to do the best that they can.
Jess, did you want to say something?
The Theater Scrapbook is a free program, but like Gina said, you have to pay volunteers to be there with the kids after school. You have to make sure the school is available. And then when the play occurs, you have to pay for police and fire to be there. So there's a cost, but not for the program. Not a hard cost for the program, but soft cost after that to employ folks.
Thank you. Please come up to the microphone and state your name and the town where you reside. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Anna Lewis. I live in Hopkinton. If I am mistaken, someone can let me know. I'm of the belief that I'm the one keeping the conversation of the play going at Hope Valley Elementary. I'm of the belief that if I wasn't so up in arms about this, it would get pushed to the wayside, like the librarian, like all these other things. Those children who are here asking about the librarian, yes, there's all these talks to have a great program in the future, but the reality is they're not going to get a librarian this year. The High C program that they've been looking forward to all this time isn't happening. That's the issue of the library. I want to apologize. A couple months ago, I came to a school council meeting, which also I want to let you guys know, I'm a single mom. It is really hard for me to come here. It's really important and it's really hard, but regardless. A couple months ago, when I first heard through the grapevine, I've been in touch with you, Ms. Picard, and with Mr. G about how communication has gone for Hope Valley parents. But I heard through the grapevine that the play wasn't happening. And that's something my son's been really looking forward to. That's something that's a community building experience. Like you were saying, I believe your name is Laura, the effects that what's going on, the confusion that's having on the community at Hope Valley Elementary School, it's been detrimental to my family, but it's casting a pall over everything. Nobody knows what's happening. Teachers are leaving. Programs that kids are looking forward to all year that they didn't get to do because they were too young, they're not happening. Nobody's saying anything. So I will admit, and I apologize, you guys deal with so many complicated things that I could ever even understand, and you keep so many moving parts going for so many people in the district, and I thank you for that. And when I heard that the play wasn't happening, I was upset, and I came here, and I think you guys were talking about something having to do with the arts, and I mentioned months ago, like, oh, is this thing that there was some arts funding, and I questioned if that was for the Hope Valley Elementary thing. That was the first time that we started talking about that. I started talking to Chelsea Vanderveer. I started talking to Mr. G. I started talking to Mr. S. I'm not only a caring parent, I'm also, I have a master's in early childhood education, a undergrad in theater, and I taught children theater ages 7 to 17 for like many, many years in New York. And I have offered to do this. And I'm the one who's been asking, and I'm the one who told Mr. S about Theater Scrapbook, which I will go on the record to say, I don't recommend them, but they are free. And honestly, at this late a date, I really doubt that they are available. The reality is, like, this school year is going on. And if we don't know what's going on, I mean, we're already, because I've been waiting for Mr. S to get back to me. And if he doesn't want to go with me, and if he wants to go with Theater Scrapbook, that's fine. But the reality is that you need at least 3 months to rehearse. So, I don't know what's going on. But the sense is, I've been asking about the play. I've been asking to meet with people. I've been requesting rights. I've been doing this. I don't feel, and yes, I'm talking feelings, I don't feel as a parent of Hope Valley Elementary that we have big issues in this district. We have the concerns of the future, but there's kids there right now. And I don't know who's looking out for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your candor. Yes, sir.
Joe Jinkerelli again. I was the principal of Hope Valley, but Anna Lewis and we had a lot of conversations. I just wanted to put it into context a little bit. The situation with Chelsea Cook was every year we'd have something in ready to go in May or June. She left for Allen Youth Theater. She was supposed to sign up and be part of the list of to work in schools. She never did that. So we went through the summer. We kept on asking her, did you do it? No, not yet. But my application's in, Come August, we were communicating. Again, still hasn't been on. It wasn't on the list. So here we are. We're stuck. What are we gonna do? It was difficult. It was hard because I didn't want. Listen, I live and breathe theater with these kids. I'm building the sets. I'm doing a lot. Dana Hall, thank God, without her, none of this would ever happen. I turned what we used to do, poetry out loud, to what we have with the drama club. So it was then the transition of me going to the middle school and all that, and then just seemed like there was just everything was like bad timing. So I just wanted to at least give you that as well. I'm willing to help. However, I talked to Chelsea Vanderveer back here. Any way I can do to help, I'm there. I mean, I would never not want these kids to experience that.
Thank you. So my question is, and it says request to discuss Hope Valley School Play funding, so I can discuss this because it's on the agenda. Are there people ready and willing to go to organize a play if the funding were available? Yes, would you like to come forward?
Hi, I'm Chelsea Vanderveer. I'm the PTO president at Hope Valley and the middle school. I've been trying to help any way that I can figure out how Hope Valley will have a play this year. As you've heard, it was quite costly, and it's been incredible. My son was a part of it, who's now in 8th grade, going to high school next year. Had been a part of it when he was at Hope Valley, my daughter as well. And it's been a lot of back and forth since the beginning of the year, trying to, figure out I've been talking with Mr. G. I was talking with Mr. G after even he moved to the middle school, and he has still been trying to help. I've been talking to Dana Hall. I've been talking to the principal at Hope Valley as well, the new principal. It seems like we are starting to, I apologize. I hate public speaking, so my voice is shaky.
It's not easy.
I think that we are starting to nail things down and a timeline. We've been talking with Theater Scrapbook, which has been brought up, and Richmond has been using them as well, and they are available. And I had offered to come in. It's twice a week, and the program runs for 8 to 10 weeks. Hope Valley, just so you know, I think it was like 4 weeks. It's like 4 weeks. These kids rehearsed and put on like an amazing show. But I had offered to come in while they're there and rehearse, and then I had also reached out to Rhode Island Youth Theater about costumes, and was told that they would, depending on the play that we were doing, that they may be able to donate the costumes for us to rent for the show, because the kids, Hope Valley is used to having some pretty great costumes as well. But just wanted to come up and just update that there has been a lot of back and forth between both the principals and Dana Hall, and trying to get it done this year.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, we appreciate. Do you have a budget, like a line itemized budget for what it would cost to put this on?
I don't personally have that.
I have what Mr. S and Mr. G shared with me. I know that I believe, and maybe Ms. Lewis, you were the parent, that Mr. Scambico said there was a parent willing to do it for a stipend position, and then they were looking into the theater play work, so he was waiting on that figure. Then there was the license for the play, which could be between $500 and $800. The fire, the police, the custodians. Let's see, for the costumes, they were looking to get them donated. And then he was looking for the PTO to see if there's any support at that end. And let's see. Last year, it cost $700 for the fire, police, and the custodian. So based on the donations, it could range anywhere, and depending on what their savings would be and what we could get donated. It could be up to $6,000, but we're trying to whittle it down.
So is there anything that the PTO would be willing to dedicate to this if we can find maybe some matching funding?
I'm at this moment, I'm not completely sure.
Okay.
At that amount, I don't think that we would be able to do our,
Yeah, and I know Ms. Hall had said they're trying, she has a lot of connections too, and she's been working on this as well.
Yeah, I know.
And I think that's what she was concerned about, that I think there was, and this is where rumors and gossip don't help. And, when people put, it's hard because there was a lot of people behind the scenes that, feel really bad that even not high school students, because they're not necessarily able to do the same level of work. And it's like the perfect storm, so you can't plan it, but it had nothing to do with Hope Valley's phase out. And the librarian has something, just like the librarian, we were down 3 librarians. It's hard. So I do appreciate that when people come together and work together, we can get things accomplished. Money doesn't fall from the sky. I've been told that a lot, right? So we're doing the best. And I know that Ms. Hall, Mr. S, Mr. G, and Ms. Lewis, thank you for your continued cooperation to be able to do this for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you. Laura and Polly.
So I'm just wondering, what, from our side, what can we do to assist?
So the operating budget provides the $2,000 for the logistical stuff. So I don't have, unless you go to the fund balance, which is typically only done for emergencies.
Well,
we're already.
Is it within our purview to, and this is just, I have no idea if this is actually even possible, but there's tons of ways to be able to raise money or, see if there would be, I know that there's some companies that are local that would be willing to, to make a donation.
Mrs. Campiego, I think once they know, once they sort of nail down which play, which costumes, and what they can get donated, that we'll be closer to a figure.
So Polly and then Mr. G.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is there's a lot of balls up in the air currently. And maybe if we put this on the agenda for the next regular school committee meeting, we can find out how some of those balls landed at that point and see if there's anything we could help with at that.
So would you be able, would you be able to turn around a play if we were to help you fundraise or find the money?
Well, the play, my understanding is, according to Mrs. Campiego, that's the goal. The play is the goal. That they're still planning it, but they believe that they can pull it off. I'm not sure. Yes, you bring attention to it, but just remember when you allocate funding that you don't have from an emergency fund for emergencies, then everybody will expect it for all, because all your school specialties, you gave $2,000 across all schools. So that's where the funding comes. And my understanding from Mr. S is that I think you allow them to plan before we say anything specific, because that's where, they know what's happening. And like I say, I get my information from the schools. So you want to be careful because that's who's running the schools.
So just to clarify, there is a $2,000 allocation in this fiscal year from a specialty budget for this play. Okay.
Not for arts, for their
art.
theme, for their school specialty.
And have you expended the full $2,000 that you know of?
Mr. G is the middle school.
I know. Used to be the Hope Valley.
By the time I left, we hadn't used a penny of it. But
Okay.
I just wanted to come up and just let you know, I just got a message from Scott Sunderland.
I'm just being told it has not been spent.
Yeah, Mr. S has it.
Okay. But I just got a message from Scott Sunderland from SNS Landscaping who wants to donate $2,000 towards
Wonderful.
it.
Thank you, Scott Sunderland. And we also
come up
might.
and tell you that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Thank you,
4,000.
Mr. Sunderland.
We're close.
Well, I can say that, our company will donate another 2,000.
There we go. There's 6,000.
Done.
I will make a personal donation and I will help fundraise for the rest. So
Thank you, everyone. Make sure Angela gets it for the shout outs.
Going forward, is there any way we can apply for grants to cover this in the future?
So we do get grants, but when you're doing something like this, you do need one of the teachers. For the grants that we pursue has to have a certified teacher attached for the work. So yes, but I explained that to the chair. No one had, the principal was working on it, but again, all of the planning that I sat down and I met with Mr. G, Ms. Hall, and Mr. S, like, it takes time because you lost a lot of the core people that helped with the work. Like, you had the high school that was doing a lot of the lift around training and going and actually meeting the kids there. You had Chelsea Cook, who was putting all the hours in to get all that preparation. So I do think that we're gonna be fine based on what I just heard from Kathy. Mr. S just texted me. Everyone's watching.
We'll get it done. Go ahead.
Someone said grant. I did apply for a grant with RISCA, which is Rhode Island School Council of Arts. It got denied. So Katie Karakojian and I put it together. We sent it in last spring and it got denied.
Yeah,
So
they're always trying.
So-
The team is, I mean, honestly, if there's money out there, we're gonna find it. Sometimes they say no.
Anna?
I am very heartened to hear that we as a community can talk about the needs of the students and come together, and that people are coming up with funding for the play. This is, I think, kind of what we're wanting to be doing here. I didn't mean to be overly emotional and oversweeping in talking about the library and this and that. I'm just saying the play is just one thing. Nobody intended for the children at Hope Valley Elementary to get the short shrift in a bunch of things, but nobody really know. Mr. G left, and I'm sure that there are other things in all this transition, and I just want to make sure that there's somebody paying attention, that the kids who are still there for however long they are there are getting the same quality of education that the other students in the district are getting, that their siblings who went there before got, and that they've been waiting and looking forward to get. That is my hope. I'm so glad that we were able to come forward to do that for the play. I'm hoping that Jocelyn and Dylan can find something with the library, and I'm sure there's 1,000 other things that I don't even know about. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, so, do we need a motion to? No, okay.
That was for the discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention, and to the PTO president, thank you so much for coming and speaking. We appreciate that. Budget transfers / update.
I recommend the budget transfers as submitted.
So moved. Second.
Jess was first.
He'll be the second.
Hey, you can always figure my voice out.
Any discussion? All in favor of the budget transfers? It is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, item 9, consent agenda items. Is there anything on the consent agenda items that needs to be, that needs to be pulled?
I think we need to remove D.
D1.
Yep. Yeah. So, do I need a motion to remove it?
No, we'll just vote against it, maybe.
So we
Or
pull
no,
it and then
yeah.
we
We pull it and
Can I just want to clarify something. So in your packets, there was a memo from Mr. Zenian for the recover payment for the Medicare claims. It should be placed in the consent agenda, but I think, where was it found, Mr. Zenian? It was in business section. So we just want to make sure that if you didn't catch it, that you caught it, so that when you do the consent, that you understand that's where it was supposed to be. So I
Is
can
that
read
the
it.
Medicare payments?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I can read it if you want. Okay, please. So the memo says, before my start date, Charahoe signed into a contract with Relay Hub LLC to help recover payment on Medicare claims. The contract calls for Charahoe to pay 4.5% of all Medicare payments to Relay Hub. I am estimating receiving $400,000 in Medicare claims for FY25. In order to pay these fees, I am requesting permission to transfer $18,000 from the fund balance to a fees account. If the district receives more than $400,000 in claims, I will need to make another request to transfer money. Please also note that we did not budget for these fees for FY26, so a similar request will need to be made for next year's FY26 budget. Just want to make sure that you that you saw it in the correct place.
Sorry, that can't be updated in the 26 budget, is that what you're saying?
No, we have to do it for both. We need it for this year.
Yep.
For FY25, so that action's in for the consent. And then when we do the budget, we have to allocate money for next year as well in that, for the Medicare.
Right, I guess what I was asking was, is he, to avoid having to submit this again? wouldn't it make sense to put it in the 26 budget or make an adjustment to it?
Yes, the budget's yours now.
Okay.
That's why that's included in there.
He's just giving you
so-
a heads up that your next meeting, you're gonna have to address it.
Thanks.
Okay, so do we need to make a motion to accept that as part of the consent agenda items, or?
It would be listed under, it would fall under the, where is it? Permission to, let's see.
It's in budget transfers.
No, actually, it should be in the budget transfer update. Yep.
That's where it was.
That's where it was.
That's where it was.
We just approved.
Right.
So it's good.
Is that one?
As long as it was in the right place, Mr. Zani thought maybe it was not.
Madam Clerk, was it in the right place? Okay.
Okay.
So I think we're good.
We're good. Try to be transparent, make sure that nothing gets by.
Okay, very good. Okay, so getting back to the consent agenda items. So was there a request to pull or remove consent agenda item D?
You should pull it, and then we vote it down.
Okay. Okay, so is there a request?
Or is, like, what's the procedure? Or do we just pull it because we already voted against it?
Wait, so that, nothing happens. So that did say, right on there, if it's approved. If it's not approved, then it's.
Right, doesn't have to be pulled.
It's moot.
It's a moot point,
It's moot.
correct.
Okay, great. Okay,
Yeah, we can still officially remove it, though.
okay. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
I make a motion to pull D1. And
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of pulling D1? It is unanimous. Okay. So do I have a motion to move the remainder of the consent agenda
Now
items?
you ask anybody, do they want to pull anything?
Okay. Does anybody else want to pull anything else from consent agenda items? Okay.
So, Madam Chair, at this time, I make a motion to approve the remainder, but before I do, I will acknowledge the donations. One, the Wesley Elks donate dictionaries to Richmond, Hope Valley, and Ashaway Elementary School students. Two, Hope Valley Elementary School also received a bag of school supplies and assorted snacks from Rycan. Three, thank you to Vanessa and Patrick Freelove for their time spent creating more active spaces behind the Charleston Elementary School. Since the fall of 2024, they have created a Gaga pit. I have no clue what that is. It is. Turf soccer field and an active play area of PVC pipes. The supplies used were part of a Home Depot grant secured by a Charleston PTO. And number four, Raymond Cormier of Hope Valley, Rhode Island, to donating a batting cage to the high school baseball team. Now I need a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay, now getting back to D1.
We pulled it to eliminate it.
Okay, so
So you
So
pulled it
we're
already.
good.
So, Madam Chair, I make a motion to eliminate D1.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Donna seconded. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, reports, subcommittee reports, minutes from the, go ahead, Gina.
That's okay. Minutes from the Charahoe Finance Committee meeting are posted in your agenda. We had the Charahoe Tech Open House. It was a resounding success. We welcomed hundreds of visitors, eager to explore our career and technical education programs. Students, families, and community members had the opportunity to see firsthand the innovative learning experiences our programs offer. As we wrap up the first round of CTE applications this week, we are excited to begin the selection of the next generation of students into these exceptional programs. We have sent out to our families our survey works, Please Know Your Voice Matters. It's an important opportunity for our families to share their thoughts and help shape the future of our schools. This survey provides valuable feedback for our school improvement teams as they refine their school plans. We encourage all families to participate as their voice helps drive meaningful change. If there is a question you prefer not to answer, you can simply skip it. The survey link is made available online in our February update that was emailed and is placed on our website, and it has been shared by all our principals. We have our annual district public budget hearing on March 5th. As the chair already mentioned, we hope that You'll bring friends with you to attend, as we need 25 registered voters from every town. At the CMS auditorium on March 4th. If whether it's a concern, we will hold the meeting on Wednesday, March 5th at the same time and location. We are preparing for Artisty. A lot of good conversations about arts. A celebration of creativity and innovation. Please mark your calendars for Friday, April 4th and Saturday, April 5th. We kick off Friday, April 4th at the CMS auditorium with our high school chorus. And then on Saturday, our doors open at 9 a.m. for the full Artisty experience, which will be celebrating our music, performing arts, visual arts, and industry arts. In addition to that, we hold STEM Fest, which will showcase the excitement of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics with hands-on activities and demonstrations. This is a must-attend event for families and community members, celebrating the incredible talent and achievements of all of our students in Charahoe. We hope to see you there. And we hope you noticed our website updates, enhancing our experiences. Our IT team has been hard at work improving the district website to make it user-friendly and accessible. You may have already noticed some of those immediate changes designed to improve ease of use. And these updates will continue to enhance navigation, ensuring that families, students, and staff can quickly find the information they need. Thank you to our wonderful IT staff.
Gina, can I add something? The APRA request form in there, that came out beautifully. And I just.
All Eric.
I wrote that down on my notes because that is so user-friendly and it's really well set up. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for updating the website. Okay. School committee requests for future agenda items or legal opinions. Donna.
I would like to put on, and I don't know how this would end up, but a discussion of transparency that has been requested tonight. And I also know that some school committee candidates use that as part of their platform to encourage school transparency. And quite honestly, I'm puzzled by it because I think there is enough transparency. I don't know specifically what is requested that is not being provided in the information, either through the website or with a phone call or any other thing. So I would like to have a discussion or a presentation as to what can be shared to be transparent and what really can't be shared.
So,
yes.
Can you just give me an example of what you think can be shared and what you think can't be shared?
Sure, the gentleman tonight.
Talk about that later, right?
Excuse me?
Well,
I don't think it's
just-
appropriate to go into a conversation right now.
That's right, that's right. I am requesting a discussion of transparency, and afterwards, I'll be more than happy to.
Thank you, Donna.
Suggest that, yeah.
So as per the policy, if you have an agenda item request, please email it to the district clerk and copy me on it, please. And on the subject line, put future agenda items so we know what the subject is. Thank you so much. Any other agenda items? Jess, Polly? Jess.
I'd like to request a discussion of a resolution to support House Bill 5204. That's the one that I mentioned. It would expand school districts' flexibility in selecting transportation providers for regional transportation. And I will, of course, send that to you, to Angela and CCU.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Polly.
Hi. I had a few policies that I wanted to pull for the policy subcommittee to look at. Do you want me to just email them to you? I'll also state them. The library media policy, videography, photography, and audio recording policy, the automated call-out system policy, transportation policy, Title IX. I know there's going to be some changes, so we'll have to get on board with federal and state changes to that, and that will have to be pulled anyways. Policy for face masks and face coverings for COVID-19, and the gender nonconforming and transgender students policies.
Okay, thank you. If you can put all of that to an email to the district clerk and myself.
Thank you.
So I had two. In our materials, we had some resolutions and things regarding the Charahoe Cowboys and cheerleading organization's use of the Charahoe High School football field for 5 home games. So I would like to put that on a future agenda item to discuss, because I think when we get correspondence and things like that from the community, we should discuss that. And secondly, there was conversations tonight about the Hope Valley Librarian and the High C program. And, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty around, you know, what's going to happen with Hope Valley Elementary School. Hopefully, there'll be some sort of a resolution by March 11th. I don't know what we can do about that, but I hear you, and I want you to know that I'm acknowledging that I'm hearing you. And I would like to put that on a future agenda item. Whether there could be a librarian, I don't know, but I do think that we should talk about it and see if we can strategize around, you know, coming to some sort of a forward, you know, positive resolution to that. Thank you. Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Have a great